Okay, so I ended up discovering in the last few days some like really serious issues with my application, and my I learned a bunch of new stuff about like how to diagnose memory leaks and memory usage and stuff. And it turns out my application is using up way too much memory and also leaking memory. So it's basically terrible right now. But that it's only leaking memory on the newer version where I added the header. The older version doesn't leak memory; it just uses too much memory. Um, yeah, and actually, I'm not even 100% sure if it's leaking memory, but it strongly seems like it is right now. But yeah, so anyway, I thought I understood all this stuff, or I had a good enough understanding, and it turns out I didn't. And now I'm going to have to change my plans. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over all the memory stuff. It's like some basic computer science stuff. And then I'm going to tell you like my new plans. And then, yeah, I guess that'll be it. I'll just go. The summary is basically I can't make a single page application website anymore. Which, if you're not sure what that is, on a normal website, you like if I go to DreamHost or something. Actually, DreamHost might also be a single page, but like if I go to like GitHub or something, every time you click a like link, like if I click like profile. Okay, wait. Actually, this is probably also a single page application. A lot of modern ones are. I'll just go to like W3 Schools or something. Pretty sure isn't. Yeah, this is not. Okay, so on a standard website, every time you click a button, it changes to a new web page. That's just called like a standard website. Then there's a special thing called an SPA, which is a single page application, where I'm not actually changing the web page ever. I'm staying always on the same web page and I'm just changing the URL. So single page applications are like a more modern, cool thing. But yeah, it turns out it's like very bad idea to do a single application the way I was planning on doing it. So this whole thing is just a terrible idea. Not terrible, well, kind of. It is terrible, actually. But I'll go over that and stuff. But yeah, it turns out when you do a single page application like the one I'm trying to do, I could probably make it work for one game. But my goal was to have many games, like World Tars Game 5, then Dungeon Dame, then another game, then another game. And I was going to have like a web game site where it was all one giant single application on one single page. And it turns out just one game and the website would probably already take up too much memory, even if it didn't leak. And then, like, if I really tried, I probably could actually get one game and the website the way it is fine, where it's not leaking and it's not taking up too much memory. So I actually could continue doing what I'm doing for the next couple years, and I wouldn't really have any problems. It's just way down the road. When I add like my next game or whatever, or where I try to expand my website, it's just gonna eventually run out of memory and probably also leak memory. So I'll show you how I figured that out and all that stuff. But yeah, basically, single page applications aren't suitable for a web game site where you're hosting multiple web games, because you have to allocate so much memory for a single game that then when you switch to another game, you'd have to perfectly deallocate everything, and then like you'd have to rely on the JavaScript garbage collection to work perfectly, when in reality it's well known that wouldn't actually work, and that actually things would get stuck in memory and wouldn't be able to get garbage collected, and that there are well known like bugs and stuff in the garbage collector. So even if I did everything right on my side, it wouldn't work, because multiple games would essentially just leak memory and use up too much memory, and it just wouldn't work. I could figure out how to deallocate. I already know how. Like I could better figure out how to deallocate memory, and I could get it working for just this game and just this site. But if I were to then continue on to my next project and have like two games on this site, it wouldn't work anymore. It's just a really bad idea. If you look at like sites like Reddit or something, they host web games and it is a single page application, except their web games pop up in a like a pop-up window. And basically any web game site you could name anywhere, like maybe let me just try this one, addictinggames.com. Okay, this has to, I'm just assuming this is not a single page application because there's no way. It had to, definitely just switched pages. It kind of looks like it is a single page application, but I don't believe that. Nah, I don't believe it. I don't believe this is a single page. I'm not really sure how to check easily. I can't really tell just by looking at it, but I'm pretty sure like when I click this, it just switched pages. Switched web pages. I can't really tell. It would be actually, I should have done even more due diligence and figured out you know what? Let me just try something real quick. Is addictinggames.com a single page application? It's not a single page, but a traditional multi-page. This can be observed how the website reloads the entire page every time. Okay. I didn't observe that, but because I could see a loading bar, similar to YouTube. But anyway, let me just try not to drag on too long. Yeah. So anyway, if you want to have just a single game and just a website supporting the game, that would be probably fine for a single page application. Although I put like a whole lot of bells and whistles that were going to waste memory. But my plans are more like long term than that. I wanted to get this game done and then make another game, another game, another game, and have it all be on one website called Fair Maiden Games. So that was a terrible idea to do that all as one giant single page application, because at a minimum I would have to be like an expert. Even then, like there's just, you wouldn't be able to deallocate the memory effectively enough. And yeah, you could like monitor the memory and then refresh if you have to. You could have it be like a hybrid where sometimes it's single page and sometimes it refreshes if it notices that there's too much memory being used. But overall, it's just a really bad idea to rely so heavily on the garbage collector working, because it's well known that it doesn't actually work. Like for like things, for example, if you played a game for an hour and then you try to switch to another game, it wouldn't be able to release the memory from that game effectively, and then it would probably, the garbage collector would fall behind, and then it would start like leaking memory and also unable to collect. But yeah, anyway. So anyway, basically I screwed myself. That whole website was a terrible idea, basically. The game itself is fine, so it's not the game that's the problem. It's not even really the website. It's just the future of the whole thing that was the problem. It's just a bad idea. I really should have done way more due diligence to make sure that this was a good idea, but I had like far more optimism than I guess I should have, and I guess I didn't think it through properly. Obviously not. But anyway, I just want to go over, and just keep in mind, I'm still perfectly happy with the plans going forward. I just had to change them significantly. But yeah, let me just go through a bunch of memory stuff and see if anyone's out there interested in game development. This is stuff I wish I knew earlier. So the main thing is, what I already knew was that there's a profiler here. And the profiler, of course, can be used to diagnose memory usage. Oh, whoops. I'm not sure what's happening right now. Actually, maybe I'm not. What the hell? I don't actually use the profiler very often. Okay, now it's working. Yeah, the profiler is the main way you diagnose like memory issues and stuff. And I had used this and a bunch of other ways of diagnosing it, and my understanding was that it was totally fine and everything was fine and dandy, and that it was totally stable, totally fine. This looks fine to me right now, because look how low the I can't tell you in detail what this means, but the graph is nowhere near peaking. It's trying to think where the scripting is taking very little time, and then the rendering is taking very little time, and the painting is taking very little time, and it all looks stable to me. But I'm not actually a computer scientist. I dropped out of college and stuff like that, so this is basically just like a bunch of gibberish to me. Like, I don't really understand most of this. But yeah, it turns out my memory is crazy high, and I'll show you how I know that now. There's a much simpler way of diagnosing memory, and it's called the I forget what it's called. Let's see if this is called the Chrome Task Manager. So this is telling me the memory footprint. This is how much memory the app is currently using. So this right here is favoritegames.com. This is the most recent deployment I made. Even right now, you can see it's leaking memory. See, look how the number keeps going up. That's really, really not good. You can ignore that other number. The one highlighted in blue. So look how bad the situation is. Basically, right now, it's leaking already. And then if I were to go navigate the site, every time I change page, it allocates a bunch of memory. So it's going up, 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 up. And it's not I thought it was deallocating this memory. I had no idea this was happening. I thought when I switched pages, all that other memory was released and that the garbage collector had already cleaned it up. And I don't even understand why it wasn't released, because there shouldn't be anything pointing to that memory anymore that I'm aware of. But yeah, what's actually happening is it's not releasing the memory like I thought it was. And I could probably fix this, but it's like a fool's errand kind of, because in the long run you wouldn't be able to host multiple web games and with all the bells and whistles, and like there's no way. And it's leaking right now, or maybe not, but I can't even really tell. I'm not even sure if there's any leaks actually, but I'll show you why I think there is if I could get it to demonstrate that. So like, whoa. Okay, there's a color bug right now. I don't even know. Oh, okay, never mind. But yeah, right now I could live with 700,000, or let's call it 700 meg. But the problem is it looks to be leaking right now. It's at 732, 731. Okay, maybe it's not 750. 751, 771, 763. Now look what's happening. 783, 778. Okay, 781. Okay, but it's not clear if it's leaking right now, but it looks like it is, because it'll go up and down, but the trend is up. But yeah, I did tests earlier where it trended up to 2.5 gig, like triple this, and it was clearly leaking. And in fact, if I were to like aggressively go around the site, I bet it'll start leaking again. But it's hard to get it. It's looking pretty bad right now. It's at 882, 968, 969. So yeah, it's not really clear that it's leaking, but when I navigated the site before, it was at around 750. Then I like played the game for a bit. Now I'm navigating the site again. Now it's at 960. So why does it keep like, that's not, I shouldn't have used up more memory, but I had already navigated the site. So why is it now using more memory than it was the first time I navigated the site? But yeah, in any case, this isn't clearly leaking really, but it is clear that it's using way too much memory because this game isn't even done yet or anywhere close to done. And yeah, the site isn't anywhere near done. And even if I optimized it, like, yeah, anyway. So I can't clearly get it to show you the memory leak right now, but, and it may have been that the garbage collector was just falling behind. But in any case, whatever was happening was really, really, really bad. And this is also pretty bad right now, even, to be using almost a gig of memory. But yeah, anyway. So that's that test. I'll show you a video of the old version. I just recorded this a little while ago. This is before I added the header. Taking a second to load. So like this is, and the textures look wrong because I couldn't find the right build to revert to, and there's a bunch of reasons why, but anyway, just ignore the textures. But you could see here, without the header, this is just the old header, which was plain HTML. Without the header, it started at about 400,000. Then I'll go around the site, and it'll go up to 700. But I couldn't really get it above 700. Although maybe if I really tried a bunch of stuff, maybe I could get it up again. But yeah, the long story short is, I'll show you again actually. This this like dynamic header combined with the game combined with the site is way too much memory. It doesn't even come close to what I thought it was. It's using way too much, and then it eventually looks like it starts leaking. But yeah, so that means I just can't do this. I have to do a traditional multi-page website, and basically I'm gonna have to ditch pretty much all the web dev I did. I'm gonna keep most of the game dev though. That's the good news. But yeah, I'm rebuilding the site as a traditional website, where every time you switch pages, it'll release all the memory and start from scratch each time. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I'm gonna do because I know for sure I can get that working, and I've done I did about 3 days worth of due diligence to now I feel very confident like my new plan is gonna be perfectly fine. But yeah, anyway, so I created a whole new project, and I'm just getting the skeleton of the website up again. And instead of a single page application, it's now a standard website. The architecture is it's called MVC, Model View Controller. Although it's modified heavily because I have certain like preferences. But yeah, like you have like model like user, which corresponds to a database table. Then you have like views like this, which is like front end, and then you have the controller, which is like the back end for that view. So yeah, I'm just splitting everything up into MVC now, or it's like pseudo MVC. Yeah, but what I'm gonna do is basically I'm gonna put the whole website on. I'm just gonna make a skeleton website and then put it on hold, and then I'm gonna focus all my attention on the game, and then I'm gonna also change my plans for the game. But let me just go through some memory stuff too. So yeah, in this is the current thing I have. It's just a standard website, like nothing special, just plain HTML. And then when I click this, it actually switches to a new web page as opposed to the old website. And then I just have a sample Pixie.js application, which I've been doing memory tests with. I did a long series of memory tests on the old application and came to the conclusion that it's probably just using too much memory in total, and that the garbage collector falls behind eventually, or I really don't know, but it strongly potentially is also leaking. But yeah, I came to the conclusion that the old website definitely can't the SPA was a terrible idea, and then also there was way too many bells and let me just think for a second. Yeah, there was a bunch of problems with the game, like the way I was handling textures in the game too. And yeah, what I decided was I don't really want to ever have two Pixie.js applications running at the same time. So here, this here is one Pixie.js application, and then the game is another one. I decided I really don't like doing two at a time because there's a potential for memory leaks. Yeah, these up here are sharing a bunch of the same textures as here, which should be fine. But even if I switch it so that they have their own textures, it could still leak memory. And then even if I disable things from the header, it could still leak memory, or it seemed like it can. But yeah, anyway, I'm done with this. There's no way. In the long run, it's gonna not work. And I'm concerned about the long run. I hadn't actually designed much of the website. I was just working on the coding, and but yeah, I'm gonna just try to focus on what I was saying earlier. But yeah, I'll just show you some memory test stuff. So here, what I'm doing is I have like a skeleton of a game with really ugly code, and then I just load the game, load a bunch of textures, and then I create these test sprites. And the test sprite has about 50 to 100 kilobytes of like random objects, which allocate extra memory for that sprite, or for that like character or whatever you want to call it. And then I have an unlimited amount of text. Like I have like right now this version, it's testing with a single texture, but I can also test it with like, I create a bunch of random characters, and then I give them each a random texture, and then I see how much like memory it uses. But yeah, I'll show you. So here I have like a shelf with some tests on it. So let me just see what this one is. I forget what this one is. Okay, this yeah, okay, this one I'll show you. This one is where I just created a bunch of duplicate. I have this texture called stick 0, which by the way, in hindsight, I gave it way too much resolution. Like the stick men are too large. You would have to zoom in pretty far to even notice this resolution, but I figured this was the max you would ever zoom in, and I want it to look crisp. But anyway, I just duplicated the texture like crazy. So there's actually 30 of them. And in this test, I create 30 versions of the walk animation using 30 different textures. Then I say an arbitrary amount of sprites and however many textures they should use. So here I'm like defining 30 different textures. And then depending on how many I'm using, I'm just deleting the ones I'm not using. And then the sprite is using like a random texture. Like it's just picking one of the random textures I created. So every time that the sprite changes frame, it switches texture, and there's 30 large textures that it can choose from. So what I can do, for example, say like this is like what 5 looks like. So this is, I'm using one texture, they're all sharing the same texture, and there's 5, and I also add one for the player. So yeah, when I do this, it's using like 140 megabytes, and it doesn't leak. So this is perfectly fine. Then what I do is I say, okay, what about if I was using 10 different textures and there were like 50,000 of them, right? So now it's loading 10 different textures, it's putting 50,000 of them, it's making them walk randomly, and then it's like giving them a random color, and then I'm walking my player over top of it. So now if I were to run that test again, you'd see went from 140 before, now it's at 1.2 gig, right? So clearly, and now let's say I've got the 10 textures, now I say, okay, I'll reduce the amount of characters. So now it's still, I forget what it was before. Yeah, like, I just got confused for a second there. It looks like it gave the same result as before, actually. But in any case, I've done a bunch of, okay, now sometimes it takes a while. I didn't refresh it properly, I think. But yeah, it's actually using, before it was using 1.2, now it's using 700. But yeah, what I did was I went through a bunch of different things, and I found that if it's only using one texture and there's only 10 sprites, it's using barely anything. Now here's more reasonable stats. If there's like, and there's gonna be probably only ever 1,000 on screen at the same time, and they don't actually use this much memory, allocate that much. But yeah, I just do these other tests just for like to see. But yeah, this is a more reasonable one. If I had 3 textures that are this size, and then I had 1,000 sprites, it's using barely any memory. 0.3 is 300 megabytes. And then with 3 textures, it's perfectly fine until you add like a ridiculous amount of sprites. That's where, and I want to keep it below 1, but I'm willing to go up to 1.5 if I absolutely have to. Anything above 1.5 is excessive memory, but I really want to prefer to keep it below 1 actually. Yeah, so, but if I have to, I'll go to 1.5 as long as it's not leaking. Yeah, more realistically, this is the most realistic test, is where I'll have like one or two for stick mode, and then like five or six for real mode, and then 1,000 sprites, and then this is perfectly fine. And then this one is probably a little bit, I don't know which one's more realistic, but I would highly unlikely do anything in the real game worse than this, where it's 10 large textures and 1,000 sprites. So here it's fine. So yeah, according to this, it's totally fine. Like, as long as I don't use like a crazy amount of textures, like 30 textures would be way too many, but I wouldn't need that many anyway. But yeah, I just did my due diligence to make sure I know how much memory is used, and I did a bunch of other tests on the actual application too. So now I have a more responsible kind of like understanding in order to move forward. And then I also did a separate test. So these are all when there's one canvas. Then I tried one when there's 2 canvases. So I'll show you what that looks like. So now I created 2 Pixie.js applications, and they have their each separate versions of the sprites. And I also tried when they have their own, or textures, I mean. I tried when they have their own and with their separate, and it doesn't really make a difference, actually. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. So let me just see here. So here, I have 10,000. Yeah, I'll just look at the stats. If I have 10,000 on 2 canvases, or let me just say 25,000. If I have 25,000 on 2, that's 50,000 total. 50,000 total across 2 is 0.6 gigabytes. And then if I go 50,000 total on 1, it's 0.6. So according to this test, it doesn't matter how many canvases you have. It's not really about the amount of canvases. Yeah, so that's handy to know. It wasn't really the fact that there are 2 canvases that's the problem, I don't think. Like, because there's a canvas here and a canvas here. But yeah, the tests basically show that, like, if I do 50,000 on 1, or 50,000 times 2, I get 1 gigabyte. And then if I do 100,000 times 1, I get 1 gigabyte. So I can conclude it's not really about, it wasn't like everything was fine, then I added another canvas and then there was a giant memory leak or something. It's more I was just kind of, just want to see what it says now. Okay, it's the same as before. Yeah, anyway, the long story short is I did a whole bunch of testing. And now, okay, that's enough talk about memory. Let me just see here. I just want to I had like notes about what to say. Oh yeah, this is a real pain in the rear actually, because I was overly optimistic about like how big I'm allowed to make these stickmen, so that when you zoom in the camera, it can like not look blurry. But in actuality, I'm gonna have to probably, I won't do this anywhere in the near future, but eventually I'm gonna have to go back, resize this, and then I'll literally have to like, I'll literally have to go, just see if I can find it. I'll have to go through this giant file and fix every single one of these. These aren't even the stick ones. Let me just get to the stick ones. These are the real ones, the real mode ones. Oh my god, there's a lot of real mode. Okay. From here on up is all the stick texture frames, where it's the X and Y position on the sprite sheet, and then this is kind of hard to explain, but it's like related to the animation, and then this is the size of the sprite. I'm gonna have to go through all my stick animations, make them smaller, and then fix all of these by hand. And that's gonna take a long time. I'm just gonna watch movies and stuff while I do it. I have a hard drive with a lot of movies on it. If I have to do like repetitive work, I can watch movies on one screen and then do it here. But yeah, so that's gonna be annoying, but I don't really need it to make this texture smaller and anywhere in the near future, but I will have to eventually. Yeah, it's annoying. Yeah, whatever. Okay, I'll just get to the point. I already explained. I'm gonna remake the site as a traditional website. No SPA, but also no bells and whistles. I'm not gonna do. I'm not gonna do language. Not gonna do theme. Not gonna do font. I'm not gonna have optional animation. Not gonna have drunk mode, which is silly. No one needs drunk mode. I'll get to the graphics modes in a second. And yeah, basically I'm gonna put all my effort into the actual game itself, and the site is gonna be a skeleton. I'm not gonna care about the site for a long time. I'm just gonna focus on the game now, because I'm basically spreading. I'm trying to do too much. I'm trying to do all these bells and whistles on the site, and trying to do the game, and trying to do stick mode and real mode and all that, and the level editor, and I would basically I'm trying to do too much. It's a rookie mistake. I will never finish if I keep trying to do too much, and I'm adding more and more too. So yeah, I'm gonna make a very basic website, and I'm just gonna monitor the memory every single, like, I'm taking like really the memory really seriously now, and yeah, the main thing is, okay, here's where the plans change. Oh yeah, and also it's worth noting that the HTML overlay, like this here is an HTML overlay. I'm gonna not do that anymore because it's bad for performance. Like, if you look at the FPS right now, it's 60. When I move the header, or if you look at the actual FPS, see when there's no header moving, it's around like 800, and then when the header moves, it's like 200. You see how the header moving goes to 200? The HTML is really bad performance, and then this is just ridiculous. But this scroll bar, I did it really badly. I was gonna fix it eventually, but this is actually the worst performance on the whole site. Is the scroll bar? It knocks down the FPS down to almost 100 when I use the scroll bar. It's because I'm restyling the browser scroll bar instead of having like a HTML scroll bar, so it's even worse than HTML. Let me just get to the point. I'm gonna post on Discord a summary of the new plans. So if you want to know the new plans, there's a Discord channel. I don't actually know that much about Discord, but I'm gonna post it here in a second. So if you want to see a summary of the new plans, just go here. Yeah, let me just get back to this. Okay, blah blah blah. Oh yeah, I'll just say I was also using way too many CSS variables. How would I find those? Let me just think for a second. Like, every one of these is a CSS variable, and I'm using like a lot. Just by disabling the CSS variables, I would save a bunch of memory. I don't even think this is all of them, but yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to use any CSS. Okay, let me just try to focus on what I was saying. Yeah, so my conclusion is that I could still make the game with all three graphics modes without refresh. So you could press a hotkey and it'll switch graphics mode. You press again, it'll switch graphics mode. I don't have to refresh the page because all that entails is adding a few more textures, and I can easily handle the extra textures, which I can prove here. So adding the extra textures isn't that big of a deal, so I'm fine with having the multiple graphics modes still, and you don't have to refresh the page when you switch graphics modes, so that's the good news. Here's where the plans significantly change. Okay, let me just get to one more thing. Also, I can have a lightweight mode where it's only simple, where there's no textures, and that'll probably work on mobile too, so that'll be cool too. But yeah, here's where the plans change. So I'm not going to go over what the plans were before. I'll just say what they are. The new ones are now. I'm only doing simple mode for now. There's simple, stick, and real. I was doing simple and stick at the same time. I'm now only doing simple. I'm going to add its stick in later. So I'm going to make World Tours Game 5 with graphics very similar to 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's just going to be some significant gameplay changes, like game design changes, but for the most part it's the same core gameplay. But yeah, right now I'm focusing all my attention not on the website, not on the other graphics modes, not on stick animation. I'm just focusing on simple mode, and yeah, so that's that. And then I'm going to have in order to make the first version of simple mode, at a minimum, I need a developer-only level editor. So I'm going to do simple mode and a basic level editor. And then when I release it, you'll still be able to play stick mode. It'll just be an early beta version, and it'll just really look like some of the animations will be missing and stuff. But I'll have simple mode with the potential to also play a crappy stick mode, and then a really, really crappy real mode, because that's a whole different can of worms. So the first version is going to be very similar to 1, 2, and 3, and 4. It's just simple mode, and it's just a campaign. So you'll show up, there'll be roughly the same amount of levels as in gameplay as in World Tours Game 4, and you'll just play it. It'll be really quite similar to 1, 2, 3, and 4, except that now there's gameplay, game design changes, which I think are going to make it a lot better actually. But yeah, that's the first version. The second version it's still only simple mode, but now there's a public level editor. So now you'll be able to play simple mode, make your own levels, and then share your levels with other people, and then everyone will be playing each other's simple mode levels. So that's version 2. When that's working, hopefully, who knows how long that's going to take, but it's going to be over a year probably, because the level editor is not that easy to do. Yeah, let me just go back to a second, and these numbers don't even add up properly. But the first version with just a simple mode campaign and no public level editor, I'm hoping to have in less than a year. So that you don't have to wait too long for that, and it's open development, so you get to play it along the way. So yeah, you don't have to wait that long. Actually, I'm gonna be getting right back into making levels and stuff fairly soon. Actually, that's the good news. Yeah, then maybe in another 6 months I'll have a public level editor, or maybe even longer than that. And then I'm gonna go back, animate all the stick stuff. Shouldn't take that long actually, maybe a few months. Then you'll have a stick mode. Then I'll do the real people mode. So you'll have a proper simple mode, proper stick mode, and a proper real people mode. And then from that point forward, I'm just going to add more and more models you can buy to play in real mode, more levels, and etc. And then I'll eventually make a new game, Dungeon Game. But yeah, so I'm going to summarize the plans on Discord. But yeah, I'm just pasting in class by class. This is my old, if I were to open up this, let me just see, is there, yeah. Whoa, let me just think for a second. Yeah, this isn't even doing what I thought I was going to do. But yeah, I was going class by class, and you can't even see the gargantuan nature of this. Like, let me just see something here. Okay, now you can see. I'm going class by class. These aren't the classes. Going class by class like this, and taking all the ones I need for simple mode and for the game, and ignoring the other modes and the website. And I'm going class by class and putting it into the new website. This traditional website, and then I'll have a game in simple mode on the new website, and from that point forward I'm basically just designing levels and doing gameplay upgrades, but it's going to be pretty straightforward. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing now, is I'm going through all these files, I'm cleaning them up a bit just to make sure they're extra safe for memory, and then I'm going to proceed once I get simple mode back the way it was in the old version of the site or the application. Then I'm going to then proceed with level design and gameplay upgrades, and adding in the remaining features and all that. And yeah, it's hard to explain it all, but the good thing is, by focusing my attention on simple mode, I can really move things along quicker, as opposed to trying to make the website and the stick mode and simple mode at the same time, and like it was just too much, and it wasn't gonna work. But yeah, on my new traditional website with my focus on simple mode, I feel I'll do really well. It's just yeah, I learned a lot in the process of doing the SPA, so it's not really that big of a deal, and I get to salvage a lot of the code still. Not really the site code, more the game code, but it's not, I don't really care that much. I was happy with my old code base, although it had like developed a lot of technical debt over time, but it wasn't really that bad. It wasn't anything I couldn't like fix, but it's kind of nice starting fresh again and then going class by class. And like right now my JavaScript folder is really small, and I'm just going one by one. Do I need this file? Do I need that file? Do I need that file? And then I paste it in, and I clean it up, and then it's already pretty clean, but I like extra clean it, and then I go and so anyway, I'm done testing memory now, and I've actually got like a basic website architecture up, and now I'm just gonna like get the old game working again, and then from then on I'm just adding levels, adding the remaining features, and like monitoring memory during that process. And yeah, we should have World's Hardest Game 5, in my opinion, within a year, but like the simple mode. But it's debatable if that's even remotely like reliable estimation, because my estimations are really bad. But I feel it'll be roughly a year, because I'm not wasting my time, or I'm not like getting distracted anymore. I'm like laser focused now. But yeah, if you want a summary, just go to Discord. Otherwise, I'll post an update with some new level. The next video, I should have simple mode plus levels, something you can actually play. So yeah, I guess that's it then. I just wanted to I don't really, I just wanted to explain that all. If anyone's, because I've done all these videos like related to the website and related to stick mode and stuff, and this is now basically, most of this is now irrelevant, and now the simple mode is now the only relevant thing. So I didn't want to just stop updating on all this stuff and have no explanation. But yeah, it's not the best. I don't know, like, this isn't how development is supposed to go. It's going, actually, technically this is going poorly, but I feel, that, I don't know, like, I'm going to do fine going forward, I think. I'm just going to chalk it up to, rookie mistakes. I'm not a rookie, but, like, mistakes that weren't like completely stupid. It was just, I didn't think it through far enough. And a learning experience and all that, and I feel I'm ready to do a good job on World's Hardest Game 5 simple mode. So And even though it's been a long time since the other games came out, I think it'll, even just simple mode, I think we'll still do okay. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm been hard at work lately. Last few days I've been working like nonstop, and I'm gonna continue. So, yeah. Anyway, I'll update you hopefully sometime within the next month with a working simple mode again, and then a bunch of levels, and potentially even less than a month. Like, I don't. It's hard to estimate the time. But yeah. Anyway, okay, that's it for now.